So, thank you, Namaka. Sripriya, welcome to our Saturday class, which is basically a weekly feature for our class. And we thank you for coming in this class. Sripriya, actually, we believe that foundation for any of the professional is basically the initial days of his or her training. And in our chartered accountancy course, basically the foundation is the articleship which we do during these 3 years. And here in Kalani and Company, actually we have a lot of curriculums which are being added to the this 3 years training course. One is basically the induction training of the 14 days. So wherein we have a complete, you can say, a package where we actually teach all of the students that how to govern themselves uh, with the mode of self-governance, in fact, instead of they are being governed by someone else. So that is one thing where we actually try to develop our articles as a self-governing person. And then another feature is this regular Saturday classes, which are not only to update the theme of articles, but to but improvise them in communication as well as the communication skill as well as build their confidence. So that is one purpose. And Sripriya, in fact, to purpose of calling you was that you being the Central Council member, I believe that you are the torchbearer of the profession. And what I believe is that present standard of training of articles for the entire 3 years are not set. If someone actually have the training at Big Four, then the entire aptitude is different. And if it is some mid-size or some small firm, then things are different. So my belief is that uh, even all these small and mid-sized firms, uh, regular training is being organized, and that too being regulated by the ICA also, because ultimately for imparting the training to the articles, practitioners are responsible. So if something at ICA level can be initiated, then certainly we will be able to produce the better chartered accountants so far as our profession is concerned. So that was the basically purpose that I invite you and communicate you in this class. And I request Vansika to please introduce Sri Priya first, and then I would be requesting Sri Priya to please have your words of wisdom as well as the words of appreciation for the students who are taking these classes. Vansika, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am profusely overjoyed to take the opportunity to introduce the eminent personality having a practical experience for past 27 years. I am Vanchika on behalf of Kalani and Company. Welcome our guest, Ms. Shipriya Kumar, Central Council member from Chennai. It is a great honor for all of us to have you here, ma'am, as our guest for this professional discussion on budget this year. She barely requires any introduction, though. She completed her chartered accountancy in year 1996, practically exposed herself to articleship from Pricewaterhouse. She then went on to join Ford Motor Company as a deputy manager financial analysis. At present, she is a managing partner of SPR and Company. Besides being an accomplished speaker in various areas like corporate laws, insolvency, risk management, etc., she also utilizes her leisure time by reading about Indian mythology. She can be looked upon as a perfect example of a responsible citizen as she galvanized the support of more than 180 chartered accountants to assist in hospital beds updation during obviously tough times COVID-19. Lastly, I would request ma'am to please enlighten the articles of our firm with her words of wisdom.
So, to Sri Bhupendra Mantriji, Chartered Accountant, to Anshika, who did a very nice introduction of me, and I loved it that it was crisp and short. And to all the very young ladies and gentlemen and FCAs, which is Future Chartered Accountants, who I'm addressing today, and maybe some of you are CAs as well. Here's a very, very hearty good afternoon to all of you, and I'm very, very honored, privileged, and delighted to be here this afternoon. In fact, I must tell you that I did not even see the name of Kalani and Co. There was this very nice WhatsApp message that I had received from Mr. Bhupendra, whose number for some reason I had not saved. But I liked the way the message was worded. And I really thought it was brilliant. And I said, awesome. And then Bhupendra ji responded back saying, Madam, we're having this program on Saturday at 2:30. Can you consider? And I said, I'm very, very delighted to do this, running a firm possibly like yours with many articles. So I said, okay, let me come and learn what's happening. And then I got this link today. And then I came to understand that, your both Mr. Prakash Sharma and Mr. Rohit Ruatia, who are my colleagues in the Central Council, are very well known. And to your firm as well. And I must say that they both are exemplary. I mean, I've known Prakash Bhai since my first term and Rohit this time. So look forward to seeing more of you participating in the council activities. So I'll keep my address very, very short. I'm sure when you're going to discuss the union budget, you're going to discuss a lot more about direct taxes and indirect taxes. But before I even go on to speak about the budget, I just thought it's very, very important to place on record my deepest compliments to the firm for having even undertaken initiatives such as this. See, the point is all firms have articles. We have access to technology. There's nothing that stops us from conducting these programs, but very few firms take this effort. Could I please request you to mute? I mean, I can. Yeah, very few of the firms actually take the effort to do this. And in that context, I think what you're doing is very, very nice. And the second thing is to address Bhupendra ji's views on how the council or ICAI should do this. I'm in complete agreement with you. In fact, one of the biggest challenges, could I request you to mute, please? I think somebody is not muted, so I'm.
Tushar, please mute this. Yeah. Tushar, please mute the conference room. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's from the ICAI side, what can we do? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So from the ICAI side, what can we do? We could possibly do two things. See, one of the biggest challenges we've been facing is exactly what Bhupendra ji mentioned. How do I, as an organization, ensure that an article who's passing out of Jaipur is, has the same skill sets? Maybe he'll have the same academics because all of you are writing the CA exams. How do I do the same thing? Jaipur is equal to a Siliguri article, is equal to a Madurai article, is equal to a Delhi article, is equal to a large firm article. So that's a challenge that we have to actually wake up to. And I've been sort of one of those votaries of believing that we must possibly have a lab training, a virtual lab, where all students, let's say 2-3 hours a week, get exposed to the same thing. And such, we must possibly also have CPE credits for articles. Because in our system, the articleship is as important as your exams. The second thing that I've been, again, very fond of speaking about is that given that the articles training is an integral part of the curriculum, should there be the need for an articles diary? a very simple daily log, where end of the day you just go in, log into your platform and say, okay, you don't have to mention the name of the client. You can just mention the name of the engagement. Okay, I did a statutory audit. And what did you work on? I worked on fixed assets today. See, the institute is not interested in understanding whether which client you're with, but we'd be very interested to understand what you did on a particular day. So maybe a diary, which is the equivalent of your timesheet, will be very nice, because again, that will ensure that all people are actually going through an articleship training. So these are, and of course, the third thing that I'd like to focus on is the GMCS, which again, I think we need to make it really contemporary and make it on par with the rest of the world. Our content is quite nice, but again, I sometimes feel we are underestimating the potential of the new generation. Mr. Bhupendra ji will definitely agree with me when I say we all feel
Yeah,
outdated by time and technology, whereas the
correct,
younger
correct.
crowd is far more intelligent, far more challenging, far more challenged, with access to a lot more resources, both positive and negative. And how do we harness this potential to, sort of take you to the next level? So that's something that I think our GMCS and other content has to be sort of addressed, to appreciating that we are handling an extremely intelligent millennial crowd and not the 60s and the 70s born like what we are. So that's the second thing. Yeah. So these are some of my views on the institute. Now, as regards the budget itself, and I'm not going to make this very long, I find one thing that's very new and different about India in the last decade is that I think everything is becoming Indo-centric. So you must have heard, right? Whenever somebody makes a law, people used to say in India, it's either the Thames, not just India, in any developing nation, people used to say it's either the Thames or the Potomac. What does that mean? Thames is a river in England, in the United Kingdom, and Potomac is a river in
Right.
the US. So everything that the rest of the countries in the world were doing was either the Thames or the Potomac, which means we would borrow from a UK model or we would borrow from a US model. Now, I find that in the last 6 or 7 years, everything is truly turning to be an Indo-centric approach. Which I think I'm extremely proud to be in a country where there are 52 crore Jandan accounts. Would anybody have imagined a direct benefit transfer? Can you think of the India stack, which is Jandan, Aadhaar, Mobile? And today I'm both proud and a little embarrassed to tell you that my 75-year-old mother uses GPay more than even I do. And I think, and look at COVID, when the rest of the world is struggling to figure out who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, India came up with COVID. I think that's the nicest thing, is to believe that India will be the center of this world, and that Indians can actually create breaking transformations without depending on the rest of the world. Now, if I were to extend that same example, I think chartered accountants must also believe that we need to lead, we need to provide thought leadership rather than just implementing. And if I were to downstream it a little bit, I believe that each one of us, I think it was Rumi who said, you're not a drop in an ocean, but an ocean in a drop. And I think it's each one of us who has to believe that you can actually make a difference in whatever you do. And for that, I think it's a great example. Describing the 7 priorities in the budget as Saptarishis that will lead India into Amrit Kal. It's very, very nice. Now, for example, I really loved it that you started with a prayer. Very small things, but I think it's very important to understand where our moorings are, where our cultural roots are. And I think it's important to, stay in touch with those roots. And I'll quickly I'm not going to speak about direct taxes or indirect taxes because I don't specialize in either. And I'm sure your firm delivery today will be much better than what I can hope to. But I just thought it's nice to understand this budget from a very macro kind of appreciation. And I'm not going to take more than 5 to 7 minutes on this. But we're going to be growing at something like 7%. GDP is the projected growth, but more likely to be in the region of 6 to 6.5 or 6.8 is what people are talking about. Inflation will continue to be high. There will be a continued demand for credit. These are some of the big pictures that people are talking about. But when you actually go into what are the, but today when somebody makes a budget, do they just start bottom down? I mean, do they bottom up? Do they say, okay, what is it, that's going to happen down? No. It's important to have a top-down vision for the budget to set what your priority areas are. Now, again, you must have all heard, right? Management by exception. Now, I can't do everything, right? A finance minister has a year. And in a year, you have to pick carefully what you want to do and make sure you deliver that. In that sense, I see this budget to be very focused with what they've called as 7 priorities or the Saptarishis. Now, there's also a very interesting reference to Saptarishis. If any of you is into mythology, they're the 7 sages from whom the entire world came. For brevity, I'm not going to refer to each of these names, but there's a very nice story. Apparently, there was a king called Manu, and Manu rescues a small fish. And the fish says, Manu, you have saved me, so I will save you in future. And then there is a big flood in the world, a deluge. So Vishnu comes in the form of Matsya Avatar. You must have heard, right? The fish.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he saves Manu and the Saptarishis in a boat. And people say, okay, Matsya means fish. But actually, Matsya is derived from a Sanskrit word called mat, which means to exult, to revel, to be happy, and to be delighted. And I'm sure that this budget will be one of delight from whatever I can see of it. But of course, running a country is not easy. You have challenges. Like yesterday, we've had NSE issues, we've had stock market issues, we've had Adani issues. I mean, the challenge and the delight is to move on. So what are these core 7 areas? One is infrastructure and investment, and the government says, look, I really want to put more money in infrastructure and investment. What does that do for you? The more money you spend on capital spending, the more money reaches the hands of the people, and then your economy actually grows. So in terms of infra, what is big infra? Railways. They've got a huge capex that they are putting now. In fact, the entire capital expenditure for this country is going to be 10 trillion rupees, right? So that's 10 lakh crores. They have a huge outlay for railways, airports, heliports, critical transport infra projects. Now, sometime back, did you even think that there will be something called as a golden quadrilateral where trucks can move freely? From 1857 Bombay to Thane slow speed train, look at how fast we have come. In fact, I saw this Vande Bharat Express. It looks brilliant. It looks like a little mouse that goes really fast. The government spends money on all this. The second is the financial sector. So they say, look, and again, interestingly, India has been one of the companies with the highest absorption of fintech. So much is happening on a technology platform. They're planning, and especially in the financial sector, again, what I like about the government is it's not that they just speak. Now look at MSMEs. We all know MSMEs had a problem in COVID. They said, okay, 95% of the EMD, whatever MSME paid but could not deliver, we will refund. I mean, I think this is a very proactive measure to actually put the money back to the MSME. They're talking about a 90 billion corpus infusion for MSMEs. So what happens is, if you know, a lot of banks give MSME loans without a collateral. So if I'm an MSME and I want a 1 crore loan, I say, look, I'm an MSME. I don't have a house property or anything to give you as a collateral. Please give me a collateral free loan. The government comes up to guarantee these loans. Because today, why will SBI want to do it? So SBI will say, look, I'm a bank. I have my shareholders. So the government, that's one interesting thing that's come up in the financial sector where they're talking about an additional credit guarantee. Now, another thing that I'm also very happy about is the third priority, which is green growth. Now, a lot of us sometimes tend to get carried away, right? People say, oh, should you be doing coal? Now, this is just very, very outline an outlier thought. Now, who are the people who keep telling India? So, and another very interesting thing is, I think today with what we see, India has come on its own. India has come on her own. And how do I say it? We actually stand up to the nations and say, look, we are going to lead you instead of you leading us. And in that context, who's telling us not to use coal? It's the developed countries of the world. Now, they have all used coal and grown, right? Whereas India is in still a formative stage of development when we still need to exploit a bit of our natural resources. So, in that context, it's extremely appreciable that India is not only saying, look, you've had an unfair advantage, but India is also very proactively subscribing to a green growth strategy. They're coming up with a huge national green hydrogen mission. It's going to have some 197 billion rupees of outlay. There's a lot of emphasis on lithium batteries, battery energy storage systems. There's a green credit program that they're talking about. They've come up, and another thing I like about this budget is this very smart acronym names they've given. They've got something called Pranam, which is restoration, awareness, nourishment, and amelioration of Mother Earth. They're trying to use wetlands better. They're trying to use coastal shipping. Now, it's very important, right? To go from one place to another, which is connected in the coast, why should I actually go through the land route? So, they're talking about new vehicle scrapping policies. They're talking about funds to be given to state governments for such green initiatives. The fourth priority is on inclusive development. Now, they have this Atmanirbhar Clean Plant program. Again, I'm talking about some of the big programs, 22 billion rupees of outlay for high value crops. There's an expansion of agricultural target. Now, why is all this important? Because I'm sure most of you have just finished school and college. You remember there are three sectors in the economy: the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary sector. If you see in India, it's the tertiary sector that contributes to a bulk of the GDP, which means my sectors are not growing uniformly. So we are talking about inclusive development, and there's a lot of acceleration that's proposed in the rural areas. The fifth priority they had defined was youth power. So they're talking about launching a huge skill development platform. So that's what is important. It's not just enough if you have a population that's young. You must also have a population that you're trying to constantly upskill, just like your training programs here. They're also talking about tourism development in a big way. And one particularly interesting idea that I liked, and maybe Jaipur will be one such place, I'm not sure. They're going to set up something called as a unity mall. So that one district, one product, whatever is the key product in one particular district, they will actually sell it in those malls to encourage tourism. I think some of these are very genuinely original ideas. And I think to that extent, it's something that deserves a bit of mention. The sixth agenda they talked about was unleashing the potential, which is actually a lot of emphasis on governance, R&D, innovation. I think India must seriously be at the cutting edge of innovation today. I mean, in fact, I don't know. I mean, when we talk of innovation, I hope many of you have seen this chat GPT. Just look at how much chat GPT is doing. I mean, I said, my name is so and so. I'm a chartered accountant. Please prepare my resume. It gives you a damn good resume. Just try it out. And this is for some, lighter field that I'm telling you this, but it's amazing how much AI can actually do. And as regards unleashing the potential, they're talking about a new data governance policy. Why? Because we've gone very high on data. We've gotten into Aadhaar. So now we need to start building tools to protect and how data will be managed and governed. There's another very interesting thing. We had Make in India, which was a big scheme, right? Part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, etc. Now they're talking about make AI in India and for India. So India understands that AI will be the future. They're talking about digilockers and Aadhars. They're talking about another very interesting thing is they're talking about lab grown diamonds. Why? Because we spend so much money importing diamonds. So they're saying, okay, there's a bit of duty waivers, etc., for seeds, such lab grown diamonds, and a lot of research. And the last part was reaching the last mile. So the government is very committed, or that's what the budget says, to reaching out to very vulnerable segments, and to look at things like housing, sanitation, etc. And to this extent, they're also increasing the outlay very, very substantially. And beyond this, of course, you have the direct tax, the indirect taxes, the policy updates, how it impacts various constituents, how this budget means. But I think in terms of what you need to know, you need to possibly, sort of keep in mind the seven Saptarishis. And so thank
Absolutely,
you.
yes.
Yeah, so thank you very, very much for this opportunity. All the very best. And I will also check out if our firm, so we run a firm that's primarily based out of Chennai and Bangalore. So I will check out if we can also
Correct.
start participating in these programs. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, certainly, Sri Priya. In fact, we would like to give, if any of the support is required with reference to what we are actually doing and how we are doing. So definitely we can collaborate and exchange on the various ideas. So that is one thing. And you have, in fact, rightly summarized the entire budget by mentioning the facts about the Saptarishi, which has been basically mentioned in the budget. Uh, since time is not there, we would certainly like that as and when you are at Jaipur, you please come to our office and we can have one more round of meeting, maybe with the students also, if it is Saturday, because every Saturday we have the Saturday class. And I request Vansika to please give vote of thanks to Sri Priya. And then, if Sri Priya, we would like that you attend and hear our speakers, but of course, since time constant is there, it is up to your choice.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your wisdomly words. It definitely must have enlightened and enriched our article's mind and brief. And it was really helpful that you briefed us about the budget, and they must have understood the flow of the entire discussion and what it is all about. We definitely look forward to, as you have mentioned here, that you would also take an initiative to start the same in your own firm as well. So we definitely look forward to attend that as well, because knowledge is something that more you search for it, the more you acquire, and we surely will learn a lot of things from your experience. Coming to the budget, which we'll have a detailed discussion right now, but you very aptly summarized the entire Saptarishi aspect, and what are the major focus areas of the government in this particular budget. And yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. I would request my fellow article Kajal to take over and continue the budget presentation. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We will be discussing about Union Budget 23-24. First of all, let me start with the contents, and then I'll introduce with the team who will be presenting you this Union Budget. So we will be going through Indian.
Is it not connected with that? I think continue. You voice roadside.
Okay. First of all, we go through the contents. That is Indian economy, facts and figures, and C.A. Kajagupta will be discussing with this topic. And then in amendments and direct tax will be discussed by Ashika Agrawal and C.A. Ashika Agrawal and C.A. Abhijain. And indirect tax will be discussed by C.S. Anita Balaya. Let's start with it. So first of all, what is budget? Budget is something income and expenditure. So something they have income sources of income is there, and then those income needs to be allocated to various fields. So first of all, where does these sources of income comes from? So in this time in our budget, 34% of the budget is from borrowings and other liabilities. Next, 17% is from GST. Next, 15% to income tax and 15% for the corporation tax. And the rest of the is from union exercise duties, non-debt capital receipts, and non-tax revenues. This is how from where the money is sourced from. Now, next is about how this amount is allocated. Now, the major portion of our budget is allocated to central sector schemes, which is about 17%. Next to the 20% to the interest payments, and to state shares of taxes and duties, it is around 18%, and 9% to the finance commission and other transfers, 8% to the defense, 7% to subsidies and centrally sponsored schemes, 9%, and for pensions it is 4%. Now, what was the vision of this Amrit Kal? As we all know, this budget was the first budget of Amrit Kal. The vision, three main vision was put forward in the budget. That includes opportunity for citizens with focus on the youth. Next is growth and job creation. And third is strong and stable macroeconomic environment. It is all towards making India more developed and an inclusive nation.
अमृत काल का मतलब क्या होता है मुझे ये बताओ. Amrit Kal, what is this Amrit Kal? Where have you heard this word before this?
After 75th Independence Day.
On the Independence Day, on the 75th Independence Day, PM Narendra Modi said this word. What was the intent of saying this word? Why did he use this terminology, Amrit Kal? Anybody who heard this speech? What is this Amrit Kal?
Amrit Kal means something very prosperous is coming forward. So 75 years हमारा इंडिया भी complete हो गए. Now we saying for 25 years is developed nation. मतलब इंडिया अभी तक stable condition में आ रहा था. Now it will be a developing nation and it will move forward. जो सोने की चिड़िया बोलते हैं उस चीज को, वही अमृत काल को donate करते हुए बोला गया है. It will be a forward nation and developing और अपनी heights पे जाएगा. इस period में वो अपनी heights पे पहुंच जाएगा जो कि कुछ पहले भी था. तो इसलिए इस period को denoted as अमृत काल. Now next, next budget में बोला गया that central focus is on youth power. Now what we are doing, everyone is here and we are the same age. और बोले youth power के लिए, तो क्या really हमारा budget हमारी youth power के लिए था? पर in my opinion, finance minister निर्मला सीतारमण जी ने बोला कि this is an अमृत पीढ़ी. हमको denote किया as an अमृत पीढ़ी. और इसमें as per my opinion, this budget will definitely transform India into a global knowledge-based economy and a progressive, developed and inclusive nation. Because in this budget, for education sector, if I say that 30 skill international centers were developed, 3 center of excellence was developed. Also, the capital expenditures जो बहुत ज़्यादा amount में हुआ है, वो it's a multiple of generating employment for the economy. नेक्स्ट थिंग इज ग्रीन पावर जो हम इस बार बहुत ज्यादा फोकस रहा, वो नई अपॉर्चुनिटीज लेकर आया है हमारे लिए. तो यदि वी टॉक अबाउट यूथ, देयर आर सो मेनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज अवेलेबल टू एक्सप्लोर इन दिस फील्ड बिकॉज दिस इज सच अ न्यू फील्ड फॉर अस. सो डेफिनेटली यदि गवर्नमेंट बोल रही है कि इट इज अ यूथ बजट, इट इज फोकसिंग ऑन द यूथ पावर, तो आई टोटली एग्री विद द स्टेटमेंट हियर. नेक्स्ट इज सेक्टर वाइज एलोकेशन ऑफ फंड. तो सबसे ज्यादा जो फंड एलोकेट हुआ वो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस को हुआ, व्हिच इज रियली द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द कंट्री, दैट इज 5.94 लाख करोड़. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट और हाईवेज को डिनोट हुआ, मतलब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट पे काफी सारा इन्वेस्टमेंट हुआ है, दैट इज 2.70 लाख करोड़. इन रेलवे इट इज 2.41 lakh crore. For consumer affairs, food and public distribution, it is 2.06 lakh crores. For home affairs, it is 1.96 lakh crores. Chemicals and fertilizers, 1.78 lakh crores. For rural development, 1.60 lakh crores. For agriculture and farmers welfare, 1.25 lakh crores. And for Ministry of Communications, it is 1.23 lakh crores. अब हम देखते हैं रिसीट और एक्सपेंडिचर का प्रीवियस ईयर के बजट से क्या कंपैरिजन रहा. तो मैं बोलती हूँ फाइनेंशियल ईयर 22 में एक्चुअल वाज 21.7, बजटेड भी अराउंड सेम ही था हमारा, मतलब रेवेन्यू रिसीट्स हमारी 21.7 एंड 22 बजटेड था हमारा, तो इट वाज नॉट फार अवे फ्रॉम इट. रिवाइज्ड बजट 23.5 का आया, बट फॉर दिस ईयर इट इज फॉर फाइनेंशियल ईयर 23-24 इट इज 26.3, मतलब हमारा रेवेन्यू हमारा इंक्रीज दिखा रहा है रेवेन्यू रिसीट्स के थ्रू. Similar with the case of capital receipts, उसमें भी increase है, not a sharp increase, but definitely increase in trend show हो रहा है कि 21.7 से 26.3 तक capital receipts भी गई हमारी. Then about revenue expenditure do show an increasing trend, but definitely वो हमारी development में जो schemes वगैरह है उसके ऊपर खर्च हो रहा है, तो that is showing a better image that 32 crore से हम लोग 35 पर चले गए. And then effective capital expenditure is also increasing. Effective capital expenditure मतलब जितना हमारा beneficial के लिए हो रहा है, जो कि reach भी कर रहा है people तक, that is 18.7 तक increase हुआ. अब यदि हम किसी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट देखते हैं, यदि लिस्टेड कंपनी में शेयर्स भी खरीदते हैं, तो हम एक बार उसकी रेटिंग एजेंसी चेक करते हैं. तो यहाँ तो बजट की बात थी और कंट्री की बात थी, तो इसके लिए हमको देखना चाहिए कि हमारी जो रेटिंग एजेंसीज है वो क्या बोल रही है. गवर्नमेंट ने बोला इट वुड बी अराउंड, जीडीपी हमारे इंडिया की रहेगी 6 to 6.8%. नाउ व्हाट इज एजेंसी शोइंग अस इज S&P is saying it is could be around 7.3% and OECD is showing it's the lowest at 6.6%. मतलब गवर्नमेंट का जो एस्टिमेट है उसकी तो विद इन में, तो डेफिनेटली बजट मार्केट्स को भी पसंद है. क्रेडिट एजेंसी इसको रेट कर रही है, दैट मींस an average growth of 6.9% दे रही है. That means we are moving towards a progressive nation and गवर्नमेंट जो चीज फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स रख रही है वो सच भी है क्योंकि एजेंसीज भी उनको अप्रूव कर रही है. नेक्स्ट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि ये बजट के बाद हम हमारी करेंसी को डॉलर से कंपेयर करके देखते हैं कि हमारा आउट वर्ल्ड में कैसी चल रही है हमारी इकोनॉमी. तो वी आर सेइंग डेप्रिसिएशन, पॉजिटिव फिगर्स रिफ्लेक्ट्स द डेप्रिसिएशन ऑफ द करेंसी. तो हम देख रहे हैं कि साउथ अफ्रीका की करेंसी सबसे ज्यादा डेप्रिशिएट हुई. बट इफ यू टॉक अबाउट इंडोनेशिया, इंडिया, चाइना एंड यूके, दे आर फेयरली द सेम, मतलब इतना बुरी हालत नहीं है. लेकिन इफ यू टॉक अबाउट मैक्सिको, इट इज आउट परफॉर्मिंग द मार्केट डेफिनेटली क्योंकि उसकी करेंसी एप्रिशिएट हो रही है. So for fairly about India, it is going well. It is not going too bad as South Africa 16.4% उनका fall हुआ, but it is going fairly good. Next is how about the capital expenditure? Compare with financial year 18 to financial year 23, capital expenditure 2.5 times increase हुआ है. As compared revenue expenditure हमारा 12.9% से 20 lakh crore तक चला गया. तो यहाँ भी हमारा काफी sharp increase रहा है एक्सपेंसेस के लिए. नाउ उन्होंने बात करी इंक्लूसिव कंट्री, इंक्लूसिव नेशन की, विच इज सबका साथ सबका विकास. तो सभी सेक्टर्स के ऊपर फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने कुछ ना कुछ कमेंट्स रहे कि हम कैसे उस सेक्टर्स के लिए क्या क्या काम कर रहे हैं. तो ये था हमारा सप्तऋषि प्रायोरिटीज, विच इज इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट, रीचिंग द लास्ट माइल, यूथ पावर, फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर, ग्रीन ग्रोथ, unleashing the potential, infrastructure and investment. We will be discussing about all these subsidies in much more details, starting with the inclusive development, which is agriculture and cooperatives. Now agriculture sectors में क्या क्या चीजें का develop हुआ, which is building digital public infrastructure, मतलब जो information देने के लिए farmers को informative solutions देने के लिए ये digital platforms develop होंगे. Next is AMB, horticulture clean plant program to be launched. Horticulture के लिए भी हमारे काफी सारे developments रहे. Next is millets. श्री अन्ना इस पे स्पेशली फोकस हुआ. इवन यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने इसको 2023 को ईयर माना फॉर मिलेट्स के लिए टू इंक्रीज इट्स कंजम्पशन एज वेल एज प्रोडक्शन. और इंडिया इज लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर ऑफ मिलेट्स इन द वर्ल्ड. तो इसमें इसको और हमने इसको श्री अन्ना जो प्रोडक्ट्स थे वाज कंसिस्टिंग ऑफ मिलेट्स, उनको बहुत ज्यादा डेवलप करने की बात कही. इवन सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस हैदराबाद ब्रांच को इसको रिसर्च एंड एक्सीलेंस के लिए, मतलब इसकी जो टेक्निक्स रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट के लिए भी काफी सारा इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है एज पर इन आवर बजट. नेक्स्ट इज स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी इंक्रीज फॉर द वेयरहाउसिंग और टारगेटिंग फंडिंग 20 लाख करोड़ रुपीस एनिमल हस्बेंड्री, डेयरी और फिशरी सेक्टर को अलोकेट हुए. एंड an accelerated fund for मतलब फार्मर्स के लिए इनोवेटिव स्टार्टअप्स इन रूरल एरियाज डेवलप करने के लिए भी इन्वेस्टमेंट हुआ. नेक्स्ट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज हेल्थ. हेल्थ सेक्टर में 157 न्यू नर्सिंग कॉलेजेस एस्टैब्लिश हुए. एनीमिया एलिमिनेशन मिशन लॉन्च हुआ. जॉइंट पब्लिक एंड प्राइवेट मेडिकल रिसर्च टू बी एनकरेज्ड बाय ICMP लैब्स और नई प्रोग्राम्स रिसर्च फार्मास्यूटिकल्स भी लॉन्च हुए. Next about education and skilling, which is third Saptarishi ka third part, which was education and skilling. Teachers District Institute of Education and Training में teachers revamp training हुई. National Digital Library develop हुआ for the adults as well as the adolescents, students and the adolescents. Even physical libraries भी develop हुई पंचायत और ward level पे. Expenditure में increase देखते हैं तो 1.4 से 1.4% ऑफ GDP जो कि लास्ट ईयर था हेल्थ का, इस साल वो 2.1% पे आया. एंड फॉर एजुकेशन सेक्टर में 2.8% से वो 2.9% पे गया. तो देयर फेयरली इंक्रीज इन बोथ दीस सेक्टर्स इन आवर कंट्री. रीचिंग द लास्ट माइल इज वंचितों को वरीयता मीन्स जो ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी थी इवन उनके लिए क्या क्या एक्शंस लिए. दिस इज प्रधानमंत्री पीवीटीजी डेवलपमेंट मिशन व्हिच इज पीवीटीजी इज पर्टिकुलरली वल्नरेबल ट्राइब ऑफ ट्राइबल ग्रुप. तो जो ट्राइबल ग्रुप था उनके लिए ये वाला मिशन लॉन्च किया गया. उनको जो ड्रॉट प्रोन एरियाज थे वहाँ पे इरिगेशन सस्टेनेबल माइक्रो इरिगेशन फैसिलिटीज डेवलप हुई. एकलव्य मॉडल रेजिडेंशियल स्कूल्स. एकलव्य मॉडल रेजिडेंशियल स्कूल्स इज आर फॉर दिस ट्राइबल पीपल. उनके लिए जो एजुकेशन फैसिलिटीज थी उनके लिए एकलव्य मॉडल डेवलप था. भारत श्री टू बी एन डिजिटाइजेशन ऑफ एंशिएंट इंस्क्रिप्शंस. इवन जो उनकी इंस्क्रिप्शंस वगैरह थी उनको डिजिटाइज करने की भी बात करी. दिस वाज द रीचिंग द लास्ट माइल गवर्नमेंट का जो एम था. नेक्स्ट इज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट. गवर्नमेंट का कैपिटल आउटले बहुत ज्यादा था. तो कैपिटल आउटले को अपन लिखेंगे एज ए मल्टीपल ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेटिंग एक्टिविटी. मतलब जितना उन्होंने एक्सपेंडिचर किया हम मान सकते हैं कि एज ए मल्टीपल उसमें हमारी एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट होंगी. इंक्रीज एक्सपेंडिचर हुआ 33.4% जो कि 10 लाख करोड़ से इंक्रीज था. 50-year इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन टू स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स. 50 years इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन और एक्सटेंड किया गया. हाईएस्ट एवर कैपिटल आउटले ऑफ 2.4 lakh crores फॉर रेलवेज. 100 transport infrastructure projects identified for end-to-end connectivity for ports, coal, steel, fertilizer sectors, and establishment of UIDA. Next is unleashing the potential, that is trust-based governance. इनमें measures हुए make AI in India. 3 excellent sectors बनाए जिसके अंदर for establishment of AI government ने specially focus किया. Next is national data governance policy. पॉलिसी उनको स्टार्टअप्स वगैरह के डेटा रिसर्च सेंटर्स के लिए वाला इनिशिएटिव लिया गया. नेक्स्ट इज विवाद से विश्वास 1. और ये एमएसएमई को जो अफेक्ट हुए थे कोविड पीरियड में उनकी हेल्प के लिए डेवलप हुआ. नेक्स्ट इज विवाद से विश्वास 2 व्हिच इज फॉर फास्टर सेटलमेंट ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल डिस्प्यूट्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट एंड गवर्नमेंट अंडरटेकिंग्स. फेज 3 में ई-कोड्स टू बी लॉन्च्ड हुए, दैट इज एन इफेक्टिव एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ जस्टिस. Entity DigiLocker to be set up for the use by business, enterprises and charitable trusts for secure online storing and sharing of documents. And 100 labs for 5G services and lab-grown diamonds. Though, and when we will be discussing about indirect tax, we will have a deep discussion on lab-grown diamonds. But for now, I can say government has reduced the excise duty from 5% to 0% on seeds. Lab-grown diamond seeds are there for that, and that will further accelerate the exports for our country. Next is green growth. Green growth, government has majorly focused on green economy. They have generated 500 new waste to wealth plan, that is to be established under Govardhan scheme for promoting circular economy. PM Pranam to be launched, which is to incentivize state UTs to promote uses of alternative fertilizers. Green credit programs is to be notified under EP to incentivize sustainable actions. And for sustainable ecosystem development, MISHTI to be taken up for mangrove plantations along the coastline. Amrit Dharohar to be implemented for optimal uses of wetlands. Other initiatives include 10,000 bio input resources, promoting battery energy storage systems, coastal shipping for energy efficient transportations, and funds to be located for replacing old polluting vehicles. So green growth के लिए government ने काफी जो electric vehicles थे उनको काफी promote किया है. Next is Amrit पीढ़ी. Definitely हमको address करते हुए PMKVI 4.0 will be launched. New courses, coding, AI, 30 skill international centers were developed for it. Tourist sector की बात करें तो 50 destinations select हुई है to be developed as a complete package for domestic and foreign tourists, and set up unity malls for promotion and sale of ODOP, which is one district, one products, GI and handicraft products. Next is financial sector. In financial sectors, there was setting up of National Financial Information Registry, setting up of a central data processing center, credit guarantee schemes for MSME, Mahila Samman, Bachat Patra, benefits for senior citizens, and other initiatives, which includes initiatives to promote business activities and give IFSC, as well as create more trained professionals in security modes. Next is fiscal management. The government extended 50-year interest-free loans to the states. And next is fiscal deficit of 3.5% of GSDP allowed for states, and fiscal consolidations. Targeted fiscal deficit to be below 4.5%. गवर्नमेंट ने टारगेट रखा है इस चीज के लिए कि फिस्कल डेफिसिट 4.5% से कम हो जाएगा 2025 और 26 तक. इफ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंडस्ट्री की टैक्स बेनिफिट्स फॉर इंडस्ट्री क्या क्या रहा, तो यदि गवर्नमेंट ने मेजरली एमएसएमई, कोऑपरेटिव्स, स्टार्टअप्स और रैशनलाइजेशन. MSAP में की बात करें तो उन्होंने माइक्रो एंटरप्राइजेस और प्रोफेशनल को प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्सेशन ले सकते हैं if 95% of the receipts in non-cash, then we can get the benefit of presumptive taxation. Next is deduction of payment made to MSME to be allowed only when the payment is actually made. So MSME को government ने two way benefits दी तो presumptive taxations का और deduction वगैरह payments का. Next is cooperatives. Cooperatives को 22% की rate से उनको 15% की rate taxation rates दी. Higher limit of 2 lakh per member for deposits and loan in cash by PACS and PCARD TVs. And higher limit of 3 crore cash or 3 crore for 3 days on cash withdrawal for cooperative societies. Next, startups के लिए extension हुआ उनका incorporation का time for income tax benefits as well as जो उनकी limit 7 years की थी losses carry forward करने की वो 10 years तक increase कर दी गई. Next is rationalization is income tax authorities commissions वगैरह exempt हो गए income tax के लिए and extension of period of tax benefits to funds relocating up to 2025. That was all about the overview of the budget. Further discussion will be done by Sanatha.
Yeah. Thank you, Kajal. In fact, Sripriya is also continuing so far as this webinar is concerned. So basically, if we see the entire budget, one thing I would like to point out is that so far as capital expenditure is concerned, that is more as compared to the capital expenditures which has been envisaged earlier, and every time the government is trying to increase the budget of the capital expenditures, and the whole idea behind that is that if capital expenditures are being there so far as various infrastructure are concerned, so that will actually regenerate a lot of other things. So if we see the railways, roads, as well as your AI, Sripriya was talking about the artificial AI, AI make in India. So if these things are developed, then ultimately there will be regeneration of the income as well as the other businesses will also be developed along with these capital expenditures. So this is just like a normal business. If we see our business also, moment there are more capital expenditures, and we basically as and when we what you call capitalize, what you call invest into the plant and machineries and all that, then ultimately that business would basically give more income in the form of you can say sale of the goods as well as the manufacturing goods. So same thing is what the government is thinking about. तो ये एक अगर अपन टोटल बात करें बजट की, तो जो इंक्रीजिंग कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर है वो कहीं ना कहीं आगे इंडियन इकोनॉमी के फेवर में जा रहा है. बट यस, ऑफ कोर्स एट द सेम टाइम जो टोटल रिसीट्स आ रही है कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर्स की, उसमें आप देखेंगे तो ओवरऑल इंटरेस्ट का लोन का पोर्शन जो है वो काफी ज्यादा है, एंड एट द सेम टाइम जो इंटरेस्ट एक्सपेंस का पोर्शन है that is again very high. So if suppose these capital expenditures do not generate what we have actually sought, what we have actually thought of, so in that case there is additional interest expenditure liability because of the entire budget. So that is something which is alarming, and government has to manage as per their fiscal responsibility. So I think next speaker can continue, and Sripriya, if she want to contribute anything so far as Kajal's presentation is concerned, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Under indirect taxes, first we will cover GST and then we will cover customs. Section 10 shall be amended to allow composition dealers to now supply goods through e-commerce also. Earlier, there was a restriction and a person opting for composition scheme under Section 10 couldn't do so. So earlier, any registered person supplying goods cannot supply goods through e-commerce platforms. So now, only for goods, this restriction has been uh, exempted. ITC reversal. The amount towards the value of supply along with tax payable thereon within a period of 180 days from the date of issue of invoice by the supplier, an amount equal to the input tax credit availed by the recipient shall be paid by him along with interest payable under section 50 in such manner as may be prescribed. So this amendment is a clarification regarding if the payment of any supply of goods or services was not made within 180 days from the date of invoice, so the recipient have to pay the input tax credit along with interest calculated under section 50. For the purpose of ITC reversal, exempt supply under section 17(3) following two items would be included. So in this case, the scope of exempt supply have been increased, and supply of warehouse goods to any person before clearance for home consumption have also been included in the definition of exempt supply. So due to this, the reversals calculated under rules 43 and 44 related to registered persons carrying on taxable as well as exempt business will be increased. Reversals will be increased regarding that calculations. ITC blockage CSR. It has been decided to amend section 17 to state that ITC shall not be available in respect of goods or services or both received by a taxable person which are used or intended to be used for activities relating to his obligations under CSR referred to in section 135 of the Companies Act 2013. This amendment shall be prospective. So the amendment is regarding that now any company which is making CSR expenditure shall the input tax credit relating to that expenditure will now be disallowed to them. Exemption from registration. Section 23(1) and 2 of the CGST Act are being amended with retrospective effect from 1st July 2017, so as to provide that person for compulsory registration need not register if exempt under section 23(1). So basically, the section 23 which states the person's exempt compulsory registration. GSTR 1, 3B, 9 cannot be filed beyond 3 years. It states that any taxable person shall not be allowed to file GSTR 1, 3B, 9 if 3 years have already elapsed from the due date of filing such returns. So for the filing such returns, there have been imposed a cap of 3 years from the due date of the returns. Further, it also seeks to provide an enabling provision for extension of the said limit, subject to certain conditions and restrictions for a registered person or a class of registered persons.
So what is GSTR1? GSTR1 क्या है? पता है सबको? Outward supply का return. And what is GSTR 3B and 9? क्या हुआ? एनुअल रिटर्न जीएसटीआर 9? तो बोलो तो सही यार, ऐसे मतलब भूल गए क्या? क्योंकि ये कह रहा है कि साहब ये अमेंडमेंट है, तो इधर स्पीकर शुड एक्सप्लेन दैट व्हाट इज दिस रिटर्न और यू शुड नो. नहीं तो अमेंडमेंट क्या है, जो ओरिजिनली क्या है ये नहीं पता, तो अमेंडमेंट क्या है कैसे पता चलेगा? तो स्पीकर साहब
यस
बताओ थोड़ा.
सो जीएसटीआर 1 में सारी आउटवर्ड सप्लाईज की डिटेल्स आती है. 3B में उनका पेमेंट होता है और इनपुट टैक्स की भी क्रेडिट की डिटेल्स आती है सारी. और जीएसटीआर 9 एक एनुअल रिटर्न होती है पूरे साल भर की, जिसमें इनपुट आउटपुट दोनों की डिटेल्स आती है.
तो थोड़ा आप जो टीडीएस के या जो भी प्रोविजंस हैं उनको पहले एक्सप्लेन करो कि ये प्रोविजन था, अब ये आया है. अगर आप डायरेक्ट अमेंडमेंट बताने लग जाओगे ना तो किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा, बिकॉज नोबडी विल बी एबल टू लिंक दैट व्हाट इज द ओरिजिनल थिंग.
So similarly, TCS statement cannot be filed beyond 3 years So electronic commerce operators have to file a statement GSTR 8. So this cap has also been made on them. Strict compliances for ECO, electronic commerce operators. It has been mandated for all ECOs to check whether the unregistered person dealing through it is actually eligible for claiming exemption from registration. If not, then ECO shall be liable for penalty if it allows any other unregistered person to transact through it. तो जो ECO के through सेल कर रहा है उसको ये चेक करना पड़ेगा कि जो अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है वो एग्जेम्पशंस में कवर तो है ना.
What is ECO? E-commerce operators.
Yes, sir.
तो ये जो Amazon और इनकी बात कर रहे हैं.
Yes, sir.
Second, whether a person who makes interstate supply through it was actually eligible to make an interstate supply through an ECO. If not, then ECO shall be liable for penalty if it allows any other unregistered person to transact through it. तो अगर कोई interstate supply कर रहा है तो ECO को ये भी चेक करना पड़ेगा कि वो interstate supply करने के लिए eligible भी है क्या. If the statement filed by ECO is then there will be a penalty amounting of rupees 10,000 or 100% of tax involved, whichever is higher.
तो ये अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्संस की रिस्पांसिबिलिटी जो है एक तरीके से ECO पर शिफ्ट करी गई है कि भाई ये सारी कंप्लायंसेस आपको करनी है. ऐसा क्यों करते हैं बताओ आप मुझे. Why TCS or TDS why compliance is not by the unregistered person?
ECO से regulated segment में आते हैं unregistered person बहुत सारे उसमें छोटे छोटे.
क्योंकि कोई भी पर्सन सरकार क्या देखती है कि कौन ज्यादा रेगुलेटेड है तो उसको टारगेट करती है सबसे पहले कि अरे यार ये जो है ना ये लोग तो अनरजिस्टर्ड हैं ये तो अपने पकड़ में आएंगे नहीं तो हमें कहाँ जाना है जो रेगुलेटेड है जो ई-कॉमर्स है तो दे आर ऑलरेडी लाइक यूज तो वो कहती है इनको पकड़ो तो ये ऑटोमेटिक पकड़ में आ जाएंगे. ऐसा करके और वो अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन से रिलेटेड कंप्लायंस ECO के थ्रू करा रहे हैं. उससे क्या होगा देखो एक तो टैक्स कलेक्शन स्मूथ रहेगा. एक कोई बंदा अनरजिस्टर्ड है और वो बहुत ज्यादा परचेजेस ट्रांजैक्शन जो है वो ई-कॉमर्स के थ्रू कर रहा है तो सरकार क्या करेगी कि भैया तेरा 20 लाख से ज्यादा टर्नओवर है आजा. तो ये दिस इज द इम्प्लीकेशंस. तो जब भी हम कोई प्रोविजंस किसी लॉ में आ रहे हैं तो हमें ये देखना चाहिए कि ये पर्पस क्या है इसका इम्प्लीकेशंस क्या है. तो ये अनरजिस्टर्ड जैसे अपन 206 में TCS की बात करते हैं तो वहां पे भी आप देखो कैसे कैसे लोगों को पकड़ा हुआ है ना. कोई आपके क्या बोलते हैं स्क्रैप मटेरियल वाला बिजनेसमैन है तो उसको पकड़ा हुआ है. क्यों स्क्रैप इज नॉट ऑर्गेनाइज्ड. तो वहां पे कहते हैं कि साहब TCS के थ्रू जो सेलर है जो परचेजर है he will who directly TCS जो परचेजर है so that will collect the tax also from the seller. तो उसको पकड़ लिया. जो शराब का काम कर रहे हैं उसको पकड़ लिया. ऐसे लोग जिनको पकड़ना थोड़ा आसान है. तो ये इस तरीके से प्रोविजंस इन लोगों को कैच करने के लिए यस कंटिन्यू.
Decriminalization of various offences. Section 132 has been amended to decriminalize the following: obstructing or preventing any officer in the discharge of his duties, tampering with or destroying any material evidence or documents, failure to supply any information which is required to be supplied under this act or the rules made thereunder, or supplies false information. Now these shall not be criminal offences and hence no arrest can be made. This move may lead to peace of mind for genuine taxpayers. Monetary threshold for launching prosecution for the offences has been increased from 100 lakh rupees to 200 lakh rupees, except for the offences related to issuance of invoices without supply. Compounding of offences. तो कोई बताएगा compounding का meaning क्या होता है? कंपाउंडिंग मतलब कोई ऑफेंस कर लिया अब सामने से आके उसकी मिनिमम फीस दे दो तो वो एग्जाम तो सेटल हो जाएगा, एग्जाम हो जाएगा. The person involved in offences relating to issuance of invoices without supply of goods or services or both has been excluded from the option of compounding of the offences. तो जो fake invoices वाला केस होता है वो compounding of offences से exclude कर दिया गया है. Also, the compounding parameters have been tweaked and set at 25% minimum and 100% of tax as maximum. तो पहले जो मिनिमम की रेट थी वो थी 50%, उसको 50 से 25% कर दिया गया है, और जो मैक्सिमम की रेट थी वो थी 150%, उसको 150 से 100% कर दिया गया है. Clearly, the focus of government seems more on recovery and less on initiation of proceedings. Consensual sharing of information. Section 158A introduced to enable sharing of following data with the consent of supplier and recipient. Details filed by supplier in his GSTR1, details filed in GSTR9, details filed in GSTR3B, details furnished in application of registration, details filled in e-way bill portal. This may hint about multi-departmental action on a taxpayer in future because of sharing of data with other departments.
ये क्या है भाई?
डेटा दिया जा रहा है गवर्नमेंट को अलग अलग सोर्सेज के थ्रू. अगर बाद में वो कुछ डिफॉल्ट करते हैं तो उनको पकड़ने के लिए अलग अलग सोर्सेज लाएंगे कि हमारे पास आपके लिए एविडेंस है अलग अलग फॉर्म.
भाई आज जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट के पास में कोई डाटा आया है तो देन दिस सेक्शन विल एनेबल टू शेयर द डाटा विद द अदर डिपार्टमेंट्स टू. वो कंपनी लॉ का डिपार्टमेंट भी हो सकता है, वो फेमा के डिपार्टमेंट भी हो सकता है, वो इनकम टैक्स का डिपार्टमेंट भी हो सकता है, इन्वेस्टिगेशंस हो सकता है. तो अल्टीमेटली कुछ इस तरीके से होगा कि एक सर्च हो रही है लेकिन बहुत सारे इम्प्लीकेशंस हो रहे हैं साथ ही साथ. और आने वाले समय में क्योंकि अब इतना सारा डिजिटलाइजेशन हो सकता है, हो रहा है, तो ये भी पॉसिबल है कि सर्च वाला डिपार्टमेंट एक अलग ही सर्च ही करता रहे, है ना, और उसकी फिर रेलेवेंट इंफॉर्मेशन जहां जहां जानी है वहां चली जाए. तो ये दिस इज वेयर वी आर गोइंग. अभी क्या होता है, अभी जहां पे भी सर्चेज होती है वो इनकम टैक्स अपनी सर्च अलग कर लेता है ना. हम लोग जब प्रैक्टिस में शुरू आए थे तब तो इतना सारा डिजिटल था ही नहीं एनवायरनमेंट, तो हर आदमी अपनी अपनी अलग सर्च करता था और न कोई पोर्टल हुआ करते थे, तो कोई चीज की शेयरिंग भी नहीं हुआ करती थी. नाउ थिंग्स आर गोइंग इन ए डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन. तो ये इतना स्मूथ हो जाएगा कि बिजनेसमैन के लिए ये सोचना कि यार मैं कुछ गलत तरीके से पैसे कमा लूं, बिना टैक्स का पेमेंट करे पैसे कमा लूं, ये डिफिकल्ट हो जाएगा, बल्कि ये हो ही नहीं पाएगा. क्योंकि आप पता चला कि 10 रुपए बचाने के चक्कर में आपके 100 रुपीज जो है वो पेनल्टी लग रही है, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग इज बीइंग ट्रैक्ड बाय द गवर्नमेंट. तो कोई ये नहीं कह सकता कि साहब मेरा तो बस केवल इनकम टैक्स में ही लायबिलिटी बनता है, जीएसटी में लायबिलिटी बनता ही नहीं, या जीएसटी में बनता है फेमा में बनता ही नहीं. ये सारी चीजों को ट्रैक कर सकते हैं बाय एनेबलिंग शेयरिंग ऑफ दीज इंफॉर्मेशंस विद द अदर कंसर्न डिपार्टमेंट्स. यस.
Definition of NTOR, non-taxable online recipient. Present में है non-taxable online recipient means any government, local authority, governmental authority, an individual or any other person not registered and receiving online information and database access or retrieval services or profession located in taxable territory. Proposed. Non-taxable online recipient means any unregistered person receiving online information and database access or retrieval services located in taxable territory. तो सबसे पहले इसमें से कोई ओइडार का मतलब एग्जांपल से कुछ समझाएगा? ओइडार है क्या? एक एग्जांपल से समझते हैं, जैसे अपन नेटफ्लिक्स का सब्सक्रिप्शन लेते हैं, तो नेटफ्लिक्स इंडिया में तो है नहीं, वो बाहर की है, तो वो अपने को ओइडार सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करती है. तो जो पहले एनटीओआर की डेफिनेशन थी उसमें इंक्लूड करते थे कि अगर अपन ने वो सर्विस ली फॉर रिलेशन टू एनी पर्पस अदर देन कॉमर्स, इंडस्ट्री और एनी अदर बिजनेस और प्रोफेशन लोकेटेड इन टैक्सेबल टेरिटरी. तो अगर कोई अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है, उसने ओइडार की कोई सर्विस ली पर उसने अपने बिजनेस में ही काम ले लिया उसको, तो वो उसके लिए टैक्सेबल हो जाएगी। पर अब प्रपोज में एनटीओआर के लिए क्या कर दिया है, जो ओइडार की सर्विसेज है वो एनटीओआर के लिए एग्जेम्प्ट है। अब जो प्रपोज्ड में है उसमें ये अदर देन कॉमर्स इंडस्ट्री ये सारे वर्ड्स हटा दिए गए हैं। तो अब अगर कोई अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है, उसने कोई बाहर से ये सर्विसेज ली और वो उसने बिजनेस में काम ली, तो वो भी एग्जेम्प्ट में कवर हो जाएगी। एक्सटेंट ऑफ ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन ओइडार, तो यही ओइडार के लिए ओइडार की डेफिनेशन में एक लाइन थी, जैसे सेक्शन 217 ऑफ आईजीएसटी हैज बीन अमेंडेड टू द इफेक्ट दैट द वर्ड्स essentially automated and involving minimal human intervention have been deleted from the definition of OIDAR। तो पहले जो OIDAR का क्राइटेरिया होता था उसमें डेफिनेशन में एक पॉइंट था कि वो essentially automated और उसमें minimal human intervention होता था। तो इसमें बहुत डिस्प्यूट्स भी है कि भाई ये essentially automated और involving minimal human intervention की क्या डेफिनेशन है, क्योंकि मिनिमल लगा दिया उन्होंने। अब इस वर्ड का कुछ भी इंटरप्रिटेशन हो सकता है, पर अब जो डेफिनेशन इन्होंने अपडेट करी है उसमें ऑटोमेटेड एंड इन्वॉल्विंग मिनिमल ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन वर्ड्स ही डिलीट कर दिए, तो इसका स्कोप बढ़ा दिया गया। नाउ द एक्सटेंट ऑफ ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन विल नॉट बी अ डिसाइडिंग फैक्टर इन डिटरमाइनिंग whether or not the activity falls under OIDAR or not. However, this also tends to increase the tax base in times to come. Now, regarding customs provisions, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in Budget 2023 proposed basic customs excise duty cuts on a range of products, including mobile phones and television parts. Duty cuts have been announced on toys and bicycles as well, easing indirect tax regime in a push to value-added manufacturing in India. Nirmala Sitharaman said, the result of various initiatives of the government, including phased manufacturing programs, mobile production in India increased from 5.8 crore units valued at 18,900 crores in 2014-15 to 31 crore units valued at rupees 2,75,000 crore in last financial year. The proposed changes in customs, central excise, NCCD rates, and other changes proposed in the Finance Bill 2023 are briefly summarized below. So, in case of precious metals, we can see that overall rate is for let's take example, gold bars is 15% only. If we take BCD and AIDC, BCD is basic custom duty and AIDC is agriculture, infrastructure, and development cess. So in totality, it is same on the level of 15%. But if we see the on individual levels, basic custom duty have reduced, but agriculture, infrastructure and development cess have been increased. Same goes for gold ore, and for platinum, basic custom duty has increased, whereas AIDC has increased to 5.4%. For silver bars, basic custom duty have increased and AIDC has also increased. Silver door, basic custom duty has increased and AIDC has also increased. Seeds for use in manufacturing of rough lab grown diamonds, as Kajal has discussed regarding this topic, that custom duties on this product have been reduced to increase the cutting and polishing activity in India. Bicycles, rate of custom duty has increased to 35%. Toys and parts of toys have increased to 70% for major imports of toys are from China, which involve Chinese toys and parts. This have been increased to 70%. Specific capital goods or machinery for manufacture of lithium-ion cell for use in battery of EVs. So, as we discussed in the first stage of the class, that the government has increased EVs productions. So, regarding this, the custom duty rate has been reduced to 0 on lithium-ion cells. Custom duty on lens have also been reduced. specified parts for manufacture of open cell of TV panel. On these items also